What's up? The OPERATIONiDROID here, and in this video I will be showcasing nds4ios, a NDS emulator that has been around for a while and an application that I've been supporting for over a year and a half. However, a couple of months ago, nds4ios went down due to a DMCA strike by Nintendo and was never officially back up until now. I am happy to announce that after calling in a couple of favors, nds4ios will be back up officially on iemulators.com tomorrow. I will be releasing a tutorial tomorrow when it is available to the public on how to get this amazing application, along with the more difficult process of finding games for the emulator. But in the meantime, if we could get this video to 500 likes and show your support for this amazing emulator coming back up officially, that would be great. As well as subscribe if you have not already to be notified when that video is released, and you may be watching this in the future, so check the description to see if the tutorial is already out. However, among the exciting news of nds4ios being back, there are some sad things. Unfortunately, the development team of nds4ios InfiniDev is no more, and development of nds4ios will no longer occur, meaning that it will not receive any updates in the future and is incomplete. Though nds4ios is still an amazing application with little bugs and tons of features. We'll begin with nds4ios's convenient autosave feature, which, as the name implies, creates a save for you whenever you exit a game. But don't get too comfortable with it, as you may lose your save relying on it. I recommend you stick to in-game saves and use autosaves as a backup. Moving on to the settings, we'll begin with frame skip. That allows you to slightly speed up your gameplay. Next is disable sound, which does exactly what it implies, and I recommend you toggle this on to slightly increase your speeds. Moving on to overlay pixel grid is a pixel grid over the emulation of the game that makes it look less blurry, but at the same time reduces brightness. To be honest, I'm not a fan of this, but I advise you to try it out and formulate your own opinion on it. On to the control settings, you can choose between D-pad and joystick. You can also choose to have controls on the top or bottom of the screen, which is honestly up to you depending on the game you are playing. As well as you can also modify the transparency of the controls by moving the opacity slider up to make it more visible and down to make it less visible. The final setting in controls is the vibration toggle, which if set on, provides haptic feedback each time you press a button. Though for this to work, you must have vibration on in the actual settings application of your iOS device. Next is one of my favorite features and one that I highly recommend you all use, and that is Dropbox Sync. By toggling the feature on and connecting a Dropbox account to the nds4ios, your saves will be stored and synced each time you play. This works really well if you have multiple iOS devices or would like a backup in case you delete nds4ios. Last but definitely not least is Show FPS, which I recommend you all use to determine how fast games will run on your iOS device. Full speed is 60 FPS, and you can see what the FPS of a game you're running is by looking at the top left hand side of your screen. Speaking of FPS, not all games will run full speed across all iOS devices. The reason being is that nds4ios's emulation is powered by a threaded ARM interpreter. As a result, emulation is rather slow on older devices like the iPhone 4S and below. nds4ios runs at nearly full speed on the iPhone 5 and above, and achieves full speed on devices using the A7 chip. nds4ios runs on all devices using iOS 5 through iOS 8.0.2, except the iPod Touch 4, iPad 1, iPhone 3GS, and anything below those devices. That leads me to say, do not update to iOS 8.1 if you're a fan of emulators on your iOS device, because when that update is released, you will no longer be able to download them utilizing the date trick because it has been patched in the 8.1 update. The last thing I will show you is a speed test across all the iOS devices I own using nds4ios playing the popular Pokemon Platinum, so you all can understand how it will run on specific iOS devices. Like I mentioned, of course, it will run faster on newer iOS devices. The older and smaller in size a game is, the better it'll run on nds4ios. So I recommend you try various games that will work well on your iOS device. Overall, nds4ios is a great emulator, and it's sad to see it not receive any more updates. However, at least it will officially be back for download tomorrow exclusively on iemulators.com, and I hope you all are excited for my tutorial. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video showcase of nds4ios. Please don't forget to hit that like button because it shows me that you all really want the nds4ios tutorial come tomorrow. However, if you are watching this in the future, click on the video to the left or follow the link in the description to check out the tutorial. As well as, if you have not hit that subscribe button, I highly recommend that you subscribe to be notified whenever I upload a video, because I upload videos on the latest and greatest things iOS every week. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and welcome to the operation.